Welcome to the deep dive. We're going to tackle a really interesting question today, one you actually posed. What if a community just decided to treat its own, say, coastline or its local forest or that mountain over there?
As if it were already a protected area.
Exactly, without waiting for anyone's permission, just starting.
That's the whole theme of the sources we looked at. They explore how this can work, how, local action and good monitoring and really a big mindset shift can lead to real conservation. And it all happens without waiting for the official stamp of approval or, lines on a map.
So our mission today is to get into the mechanics of that. How do these immediate local actions sometimes have an even bigger impact than formal laws? The sources, they start with this really critical truth about conservation that sets the stage for everything else.
They do, and it's a simple truth. Wildlife does not understand political borders.
Right. An animal doesn't know where the county line is.
Not at all. A minister signing a document hundreds of miles away doesn't actually stop a bulldozer on the ground. Species survive or they disappear based on what people are doing every single day.
So you have this huge mismatch. The speed of bureaucracy versus the speed of ecological decline.
And that tension puts the responsibility right back on the community. It's not about waiting for permission anymore. It's about taking stewardship now.
Which brings us to this core idea from the sources.
Exactly. The principle is that protection begins with behavior, not borders.
Behavior, not borders. I like that.
If people are treating an area responsibly, if they're minimizing disturbance, if they're fishing sustainably,
Right.
then for all intents and purposes, it is protected. The official paperwork just comes later to confirm a reality the community has already built.
Okay, I get the philosophy, but let's make it practical. What does this behavior actually look like on the ground? Give me an example of something a community could do tomorrow that helps without changing a single law.
Sure, think of a coastal town with a reef that everyone fishes. Formal protection might, just ban everything, which can create conflict.
Right.
But behavioral protection could be the local fishing co-op agreeing on their own to use less destructive gear, or maybe they create a rotating system where they don't fish certain parts of the reef for a few months to let it recover.
So it's self-regulation, and it's smart regulation because they know the area better than anyone.
It is. It's about fishing responsibly, maybe designating specific trails to reduce erosion in a forest, or keeping a constant eye out for invasive species before they get a foothold.
That kind of rapid response is something a government agency just can't do.
They can't. And all these responsible behaviors, they build up ecological resilience. They create a buffer against decline long before an official sign ever goes up.
The sources really emphasize that point, that bureaucracy can take years. Years that some of these places just don't have.
That time frame is the real currency in conservation. When a community decides to manage its own seagrass bed today, that ecosystem gains years of recovery time it would have lost to policy debates and assessments.
So speed is everything, but to act fast, you need to know what you're looking at. You can't protect what you don't measure.
Let's talk about the monitoring, because I think that's where a lot of communities feel, out of their depth.
That's a huge misconception, that you need a PhD to monitor an ecosystem. The sources show it starts really simple. It's about focused observation.
So not complicated scientific surveys.
Not at first. It's things like noticing when the dolphin pod comes back each year. It's counting seabirds at their nesting sites. It's just consistently noting if you see certain rare plants or if you don't.
And these small, simple notes from lots of different people, they build what the sources call a living baseline. This is such a powerful idea.
It's everything, because without that baseline, without that starting point, you can't prove anything has changed.
How does that work in practice? Okay, imagine a group of hikers and birdwatchers in a village. For 5 years, they consistently record 0 otter sightings in their river. That's the baseline, 0.
Okay.
Then in year 6, they start seeing them. 6, 10, a dozen different sightings are logged. That shared data, because it's consistent, instantly proves something significant has happened. An ecological recovery.
And the community becomes its own institutional memory. You don't need to fund some expensive historical study.
Precisely. And without that baseline, you can't go to the authorities and argue for change because you can't prove anything was different before. The baseline gives you the before so you can show them the after.
And this is where it gets, for me, really interesting, because we're not just talking about people writing in notebooks anymore.
No, not at all. Technology is the great equalizer here. And AI, specifically, is a massive knowledge amplifier. You don't need to be a formally trained biologist anymore to contribute really meaningful data.
What are the actual tools that are making a difference?
Well, for example, There are acoustic monitoring apps now. A community member can just record a bird call on their phone, and an AI can often identify the species with incredible accuracy.
Wow.
Or platforms like iNaturalist. You upload a photo of a plant or an insect, it's geotagged, and the community and AI help identify it. And then, and this is key, simple models can analyze all those submissions to spot patterns,
Patterns like what?
like a sudden drop in a certain bird population after new development goes up, or a change in when a migratory species are arriving each year.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me that a small remote village, just by using their phones and coordinating a little, can suddenly have the same kind of knowledge power that used to belong only to a big university or a government agency?
It completely closes the knowledge gap. It's a fundamental shift in the power dynamic.
But there has to be skepticism, right? The sources must mention this. What about quality control? With everyone submitting data, how do you avoid errors or even people making things up?
That's a crucial question. Data is only powerful if it's credible. The way these platforms handle it is through consistency and aggregation. One single weird sighting of a rare animal might be flagged as an outlier. But when 50 different people submit photos and notes about seeing more seals in the bay over a 6-month period, that collective volume validates the trend.
So there's strength in numbers?
There is. And many of these platforms have built-in checks. They might flag a really unusual sighting and require a local expert or a longtime user to verify it before it's officially counted.
So the AI isn't just a collector, it helps filter and verify too. It's amplifying the human effort, not replacing it. Okay, so now we have this organized, amplified, and pretty reliable data. What's the payoff? How does a folder full of bird sightings turn into real political influence?
This is where community monitoring becomes community influence. It's the critical step. When a local group goes to the authorities, the fisheries department, the council, they're not showing up with anecdotes or petitions anymore. They're showing up with a spreadsheet, with evidence.
What kind of evidence actually gets a policymaker's attention? I imagine they're used to seeing formal, peer-reviewed stuff.
They are, but what the sources show is that 3 types of data are incredibly effective. First, proof of high biodiversity showing the area is special and worth saving.
Okay, makes sense.
Second, verifiable data on protected or endangered species using that specific area. And third, and this is often the most powerful, clear documentation of increasing pressure.
The smoking gun.
Exactly. Things like maps of repeated pollution events or photos documenting habitat destruction over time. It forces them to react.
It reminds me of that powerful line from the sources. Governments rarely act on good intentions. They react to strong evidence.
That's it. This process gives local people the power to demand protection, not just ask for it. They can prove it's necessary.
And I assume that changes the whole timeline.
It can shave years off the formal process. Instead of the authorities having to start from scratch, the community hands them a finished, scientifically defensible case for why they need to act.
But the impact isn't just external on policy. The sources talk a lot about the internal psychological effect on the community.
I think this is probably the most important part, the most lasting part of it all.
How so?
When people start saying our bay or our forest, not just as a location, but in the context of protecting it, the whole mindset changes. It stops being just a resource to be used,
It becomes a responsibility.
a shared responsibility. The wildlife isn't just scenery anymore or something that belongs to the government to manage. It belongs to the community to steward.
And when that shift happens, it becomes part of the culture. It's not just a one-off project.
Absolutely. Think about the effect across generations. Kids grow up knowing that taking care of their home starts with them, not some office far away. Elders see their knowledge valued.
And visitors. Visitors must feel it too.
They do. They arrive and they can just feel this local culture of respect. They see the care people are taking, and they naturally start to follow those same unspoken rules. The community's buy-in is visible.
That creates a self-enforcing system, which is probably stronger than any sign or fine a government could impose. It's social pressure, but in a good way.
It's a protective culture, and it's all driven by individual human decisions, just supported by technology. It's the fisherman who decides to log that turtle sighting.
Yeah.
It's the hiker who notes a rare orchid because they know the data point matters. It's the student who spends a weekend documenting nesting sites. The technology is just the tool. The heart of it is still human.
So let's pull all this together. For you listening, if you live near a river or a little patch of woods or a coastline, What this all means is that people are acting today. They're tracking things, recording species, monitoring sensitive sites, and by doing that, they're basically creating an unofficial protected area in practice.
The message is just so transformative. It's
Yeah.
don't wait. Don't wait for permission to protect your home. Your actions right now, when you organize them and amplify them, can shape the future and influence policy.
It's that cumulative effect, isn't it? All these small groups creating their own unofficial protected areas. The sources suggest that might be the most powerful force in conservation.
It just bypasses the traffic jam of bureaucracy. It reframes the whole problem from one of enforcement to one of stewardship. It says, we're already here, we're already taking care of this place, and here's the data to prove it.
So we'll leave you with a final thought to mull over. If the biggest barrier to protecting an ecosystem is often just paperwork, and community data combined with collective action can create the same protective outcomes today, how quickly can that organized, data-driven community behavior make the official paperwork totally redundant?